Hello everybody and welcome back to Cape Rugby TV here on Cape Town TV live at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. Tonight's show is slightly different. We give you the opportunity to call in live. You'll be able to chat to the panel during the course of the evening. And look out for some interesting questions coming from the public, but we'll be telling you more about that during the course of the show. My guest, as always, on the panel, Mr. Herman Abrams, Deputy CEO of Western Province. Hello, Mr. H.
Evening, JP.
Hoe lyk dinge?
Nee, wat is lekker om hier te wees. En ek dink dat het lyk vir my ons is nog besig om na die einde toe te gaan. En na die einde toe raak het met al robber.
Mervyn Green, the Head of Development at the South African Rugby Union. Welcome to Cape Rugby. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, JP.
I see you sitting in Thello Wakefield's chair tonight.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. It's supposed to be a very big chair.
So we have to break you in a little bit here, you know, because I know that you guys that are up at the top ranks there, it is formal. We're very relaxed, very relaxed.
I am relaxed indeed.
Love it, love
very
it.
relaxed.
And Mariska Lewis, the captain of Western Province Rugby, Western Province women's team. Hello, Mariska.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be back, JP.
Just like it's long overdue. We've been trying to get you out here. Yeah, long overdue. But nice to have you here. Yes, folks, so it is a live tonight. Of course, as I said, you'll have a chance to call in. We'll give you the show's number a little bit later. We'll also be having a live chat with Pedro April. Pedro is, of course, the coach at Eerste River. They went out for testing at Sports Science Institute during the course of the week, and we'll be taking a look at some of the photographs from the guys doing their testing at Sports Science. An absolutely incredible opportunity for the clubs out there to get themselves ready for the 2012 season, which is going to be even bigger and better than 2011, if that is possible, because 2011 took club rugby in the Western Province to an absolutely entire new level. Development, transformation, empowerment, and the potential for sponsorship. Of course, many of those of you that were at the social media seminars and business proposal seminars will know about that. And it was so great to see you out there 2 weeks ago, and we're looking to see what sort of feedback we get at our next seminar, which is going to happen in the next 2 weeks or so. We'll call you back and we see where we're at with those fan pages and Twitter handles. But I must say, Mr. H, one of the things that I was absolutely most impressed with, and we'll see if we can get a screenshot of that during the show, was that somebody posted on the Western Province Club Rugby website, in the chat zone, at least 20 of the club's Twitter handles. The Twitter handle is, of course, the name that they use on Twitter. Okay, for those of you that are technologically challenged.
But it's great.
No, absolutely great. Absolutely. I mean, there were all of the clubs with their names. Normally, @ is the first part of the Twitter handle. It'll be @ St. George's RFC, @ MIT Rangers, @ Durban, @ Belleville, and so on. It was great, which is part of that whole conversation stream that we're looking for.
As long as we build it bigger and bigger, everybody must be part of it. We can't sit down and some of the guys do all the work and others just sit back and relax. I mean, we need everybody to be on the same page.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that those people that were at these seminars and business planning sessions, it's going to take us a bit of time, but there was no doubt in my mind whatsoever that everybody at those sessions, and we were talking about in excess of 60 clubs again and close on 100 people, that every single one of them is passionately what was labeled today as the champion of the team. Even if they're not in the committee, they're still part of the squad, part of the team, they're part of the club, the community, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Communication is the name of the game.
Yeah.
If there's great communication in a club, your club will have no problems. And that is what we're trying to do. And I hope that, in 2 weeks' time when we have the next workshop, that those that were still outside, they will all be there and they will understand that it's important to be there.
Yeah. Mervyn, let's move to you, and of course we're going to talk to Mariska about communication in a couple of seconds' time. Folks, incidentally, one of the highlights of the evening is, of course, the ladies in rugby calendar. We got a quick little zoom-in shot of that. You can see that you know where I'm going with that, but we'll take a closer look at the ladies calendar. What month is that? That's Okay, let me not just get distracted right now, but we're going to look at the ladies' calendar. We're talking about communicating in a different format in a couple of seconds' time. We'll speak to Mariska Lutz about that. Mervyn, let's talk to you about development at SARU. I mean, maybe first just tell us, I think a lot of people don't quite often, as we used to have the problem in Western Province Rugby, is that people didn't know the facts of what the union did. Tell us what SARU does from specifically in your case now, being development and amateur rugby.
Yeah, JP, I think development boils down to a very simple explanation, because a lot of people tends to complicate this aspect of the game. So within SARU, we see development as one thing, as the affording of opportunities for players to play.
Right.
You can't talk about development if the players aren't playing.
Yes.
So the main focus within SA Rugby is that we put a lot of emphasis on our 14 provinces to ensure that they provide the equal opportunities for all players from all walks of South Africa, race, creed, color, doesn't matter, to afford that opportunities. At the school level, if you talk at the school and the junior level of grassroots rugby, then the main focus shifts a bit down to access. It means also all about the boost of numbers increasing. So we do have national programs in terms of the expansion of the game, especially at the junior school level.
Yeah.
Then we do have high school assistant programs throughout the country. And then alongside with that goes the talent identification of the players starting at under 16 level up to under 18. So yeah, that's basically if we talk about grassroots level. If we talk about development on a senior level, then the focus shifts automatically in terms of capacity building.
Yeah.
We try our utmost best remotely to support the clubs, to empower them in terms of coaching.
Do you also get a lot of phone calls from clubs asking for money?
It's on a daily basis, you know, but what can you do? I mean, you can't just.
From a SARU point of view, do you agree with our philosophy that we're starting with at Western Province in terms of teaching clubs how to empower themselves, backing them up with media, helping them to get sponsorship? Is that the kind of thing we want to roll out on the ground?
Absolutely, JP. I think what is currently happening in the Western Province is a great example as to what should happen throughout the country.
Yeah.
I think what Western Province Herman and his team is actually doing a fantastic job in terms of how to deal with the club issues.
Yes.
We do get a lot of requests from clubs all over the country, and then I mean there's nothing that we can do from the national office side because we're not on the ground.
Yeah.
So we expect from our 14 unions to do exactly what Herman and
to take some sort of responsibility.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you can help up to a certain point.
We provide the resources in terms of funding, strategic funding, and then we assist them with some expertise as to how to utilize that funding appropriately and so that they can ensure that they do develop at a club level.
I mean, one of the problems where we talk about communication. One of the problems that we've had is that in the past is that it's very easy to give exposure to 3 or 4 clubs, but it's very difficult, certainly in Western Province's case, where you've got 90 clubs to give exposure. I mean, this is one of the things we've been trying to do is make sure that every club in Western Province has some sort of exposure, whether it be on the TV show or through Facebook or
media,
website, some form, and there's a whole new plan. But it's much easier to do it for 1 or 2 clubs in South Africa. I mean, that must be an enormous challenge for you then to convince the unions to create systems that are broader.
Yeah, JP, I think what unions should now realize is that every one of the 14 provinces should understand that they need to narrow the gap between the professional game and the amateur game. For too long, the gap has been widening. So what we are trying to do now from SARU's side, from a national point of view, there will be, in 2013, there will be certain programs that we will roll out in terms of that we can try and narrow that gap.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I've been recently in New Zealand watching the World Cup, and during that time, I was fortunate to network with a lot of presidents and CEOs of all kind of of rugby unions in the world. And the problem in terms of amateur rugby and vis-a-vis professional rugby is all over the same.
Everyone's got it.
Everybody's got it. And then I sat there and I said to myself, but why are we so pedantic about this thing?
Yeah.
Let's tackle this thing in such a way that we can solve it easily, then rather than see the big picture and trying to solve everything in a very short space of time.
One of the things.
So we need to design our programs as such that we can, over a longer period, try to narrow that gap.
But surely that's also up to the clubs, is they've got to change their approach in terms
Absolutely.
of. I mean, this is probably a fresher conversation between us, having you here, on the panel for the first time. And folks, incidentally, we will be putting that telephone number up on the screen in a couple of minutes' time, and you'll be able to give us a call in. You'll have to stay close by your television set to be able to talk to us, because we'll be talking to you through the TV. But Mervyn, one of the things that we've, I mean, if I had to go to Mariska over here, one of the things when we had Mariska on, it's a great example. Women's rugby don't really get paid money to play rugby. There's not a lot of money in women's rugby. Mariska, am I right? That's still the case? So, but you're not going to stop playing rugby because there's no money in your pocket. You play it because you love playing it.
Yes.
Right. So, and this is what we're trying to say, is that yes, you want to close that gap between amateur rugby and and professional rugby, but it doesn't have to be about money. You play for the love of the game and for the community.
Absolutely, JP. What we are saying to your unions, it's not all about the funding. It's the way that they design their programs and projects to improve the status of club rugby, to go into the schools, to encourage the youngsters after school to go into a formal club setup. That's not happening. But this is a worldwide scenario. Even your big unions like New Zealand, Australia, I've been chatting to those guys, England, France. It's a major problem. The dropout rate after school is massive.
But that's all the more reason why you have to work so hard at it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we see individual clubs here complaining that they're not getting a lot of registrations, but yet we don't see any form of action to encourage players to register.
That's it. The other clubs are also guilty of, they point fingers to the schools. And let me tell you up front, South Africa has got the best schools rugby structure in the world. And we can proud ourselves of that. But the problem is, our clubs don't provide the environment for those youngsters to come and join them.
In America, the gridiron football players, coaches, will go to the colleges and go to the schools, and they will actually recruit and they'll show brochures on why it is that you should join my university or join my club and so on. I mean, and that's I keep looking back at what we've done, Mr. H, during the season. You know, if I look at guys like, for example, Scott's team, and I mean, Elsies was a great example this year. A number of those clubs, the Hands and Hearts, Tigerberg, those clubs, I do not see really too many players there that go, no, I'm not playing rugby here anymore because there's no money in it for me. They all will be back there next year. I mean, their captain has been playing for 8 years. And they play for the love of the game.
That's a problem. That's why I'm saying, I mean, Herman can back me up if we take Western Province as an example. There's only a few clubs that really invest within the schools in juniors. Like Hamilton's has, I mean, I've got the greatest respect for those guys. What they are trying to do, what they are not trying, but what they are doing is going to reap the benefits.
Well, they obviously need to work a little bit harder because they don't have the kind of community around them to draw on. So, whereas if you go to, say, Mr. H, I mean, am I right? If you go to a place like Elsies, there's a lot of people in the area that can play in that club.
Well, it's the same with clubs like Collegians, Primrose, and others, But they work hard at it. They work hard at getting those youngsters to play for them.
And those communities are turning it into a success. Mariska, if I go in your space, I mean, women's rugby is even more difficult. It's still growing, but you have to travel very far. It's not as if you're playing close by to your local club. It takes a lot more effort.
I think that's the thing with the women is where we don't expect anything in terms of funding, but we do get something from the club for like petrol money, because where the men have clubs in every suburb, we have to go.
You've got to travel.
I have to go to Stellenbosch to play there because we've only got about 6 women's clubs. Because I think most of the clubs don't want to make the effort to even try and start a women's club. Because there are lots of ladies out there that want to play, but because it's not in the area, that just don't bother
They still
with
have to
that.
travel, they still have to
Yeah.
go, but they still want to play. And they still want to register. Mr. H, is this something that we can do from a union point of view? I mean, I think a lot of, maybe it's from a union point of view, an additional initiative that we could look at is that if the clubs are not out there recruiting players, can people come to the Club Rugby website and register to play rugby on the site? And then maybe you'll point them to a location
Yes.
close by them?
Yes, we'll do that. We
So-
can do that.
So in other words, we can have many thousand more people registering to play rugby, and you'll just tell them which is the clubs in their neighborhood to contact.
Okay, we will have to follow the same example that we did now with the under 21s. We had 20 under 21 teams the year before. This year we've got 51 because we established and we instructed clubs that you must have an under 21 side. So 3 divisions have an extra under 21 side. So we grew by 31 teams
Yeah.
at under 20 level.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the same can be done with the necessary will and passion. We can do that for the women's rugby also.
Folks, there you have it. We're going to talk more about registrations and the growth of the game of rugby, but I think it's time for us to go to an ad break in a second or so. Of course, when I come back from that ad break, we're going to give you an opportunity to call into the studio. We'll give you the number in a couple of seconds' time. We'll also take a look at some of the results of the interprovincial sevens. Didn't go 100% our way, but still lekker to be playing the game of rugby. And we'll be talking to Mariska Lurtz about sevens and this lovely, lovely calendar that she's brought me, which she promised me she'd bring me last time, and she actually did. I was blown away, could hardly focus. Going to be fantastic looking at this. It's going to be my favorite part of the show. But we'll be back with you guys in a second. It was the National Sevens recently. Very exciting games out there. Mariska, you out there?
Yes, I was.
And?
Not that good. Better than last year. It was tough. It's always tough with a tournament like that.
Why? Why is it always tough for a tournament like that?
Because first day you've got all strength in your team, and then by the second day you struggle with injuries. And
Really?
it happened to us 2 years ago. It happened to us this year. Struggled with, I think, 2 ankle injuries, knee injury.
How big is your squad that you take up there when you go out for the sevens?
12 players.
12 players?
Yeah, and we have 7 on the field, 3 on the bench. So it's not a big selection. If you do have injuries, you have to just suck it up and play.
Suck it up and play.
Yeah, and it's disappointing with the tournament because in terms of the refereeing, I played the international sevens tournament, and when there's high tackles, you get sent off the field. In the games we played this past weekend, there were about 2 high tackles every game, and no cards were given, and some of them were serious danger. So it's like, in terms of stuff like that, the refereeing and the tournament, it was a bit disappointing.
So something to work on.
Yes, definitely something
Okay.
they need to look at.
Well, I think it's glad that we know that then, and it's something that has to always be looked at. But Mr. H, you had the referees awards last week. The feedback from that, I mean, it seems to be, and I understand that there's obviously so many thousands of referees, not every referee is going to be perfect. Some will definitely fit into the Lawrence category, not the Mark Lawrence category, which is in the retirement phase, but we will call that from now on the Lawrence category. Am I just causing trouble now? But obviously it's a constant growth process. I mean,
I think actually rugby also, uses some of those the competitions like that to put referees at a higher level.
yeah,
And you hope that the person is going to make it,
yeah.
and then sometimes they don't make it.
So it's like a learning opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
Mervyn,
must-
is that right?
You must give them opportunity to
Yeah.
go at another level. So.
Yeah. Is that part of development as well? With referees?
Absolutely. I mean, JP, you can't throw them in the deep end as well. So somewhere the contenders need to show
Yeah.
that they can climb the ladder.
Yeah.
So these kind of events are normally the place where they will be deployed to see if they're good enough.
How much of a difference in terms of if we talk refereeing at sevens? How much of a difference is it? I mean, when you were up there, were there TMOs or was it
Not
just
at all.
no TMOs?
And it's a bit, it's because the provincial sevens, it doesn't get televised either.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah.
it's a bit frustrating, especially in the sevens, because sometimes it happens so quick and you need to go to TMO, but then it's
Well,
just...
maybe if they host the provincial sevens in Cape Town, we can actually televise it, and then we can have TMOs.
But they did well.
They did well.
They lost in the semi-final
Yeah.
to Border, who eventually
won the final.
Who was
Came
last
on.
year's winner?
Eastern Province.
Eastern Province.
Yes.
The Elephants.
they've
Yes.
been the
Were they upset?
champions.
You could say so, yes. Tears.
Tears of joy?
Yeah. yeah.
Were they crying?
No, they were very upset.
Kom, Mariska, sê nou my die waarheid. Hulle het gechunk.
Ja, dis waar.
Alles waar. There we go. Listen, tell me a little bit more about this calendar. We spoke about it last time you were on the show. This is the Ladies in Rugby calendar, folks. I know it's quite difficult to get into all these pictures, but there's been a lot of great initiatives like this around the world. We know, I think the Australian, I mean, there was even a movie at one stage called The Calendar Girls. The Australian hockey team took it to a whole new level. They raised funds and awareness for hockey for women's players in Australia. This is obviously the same type of scenario.
Yeah, it's something we just decided to do to raise funds for ourselves.
Who decided to do this? I mean, I don't see any SA Rugby or
No,
Western
it's-
Province
it's-
logo. It looks like a private
It's
initiative.
just our girls that share the same passion, and we just decided, our manager came to us and said, well, let's do something for ourselves,
Right.
and let's make a calendar and see
And I see
where-
you had a few companies supporting you here, Magic in Motion, Granddaddy Digital Brothers,
Yeah, that's
and
where we had it done, the
and
Grandad
Hotley?
Hotel.
at the hotel. Okay.
Yeah,
Because I mean, from our side, we're happy to mention the sponsors so that they do it again.
yeah.
And I mean, these are, if one wants, and it also shows you here all of these players who they played for. So, for example, Jolene Ware played for Western Province, the Western Province Sevens, and the Springboks. And there's a nice little, yeah. So where would I buy this calendar, for example?
You can contact our manager, Naleen Oosthuizen. It's 150 Rand, and then you can just contact her and she'll post it to you.
Is this something, Mr. H, that we could put on the Club Rugby website if people want to? It should have been there already. In actual fact, maybe that's an idea. We can put these pictures as Miss December, or you are, of course, Miss December twice in this calendar.
Yes, I am.
I think, folks, we're going to have to find Miss December then. There is the gorgeous Mariska Lewis. There you can see it. None of these were too risque, though, eh?
No, it was your choice.
It was your choice?
Yeah, it had to be like, it's something we want to show that we can be rough and tough on the rugby field, but we can also,
Right. Who's that?
that's Andrea Stubbs.
Andrea Stubbs? Okay,
She's-
so very nice.
And she was,
Women's
she was the
player.
player of the year.
Player of the year?
Yeah.
All right, so fantastic. And who's this gorgeous lady?
That's Zina Botha, also Springbok prop.
Prop?
Yes.
Right, yeah. Nothing
You
look like a...
you can fall in love with a prop.
You can't, yeah, a butt prop, yeah. Anyway, so a fantastic calendar there. Let's take a look now, folks. It's time for us to take a look at some of the stories that's happening in Western Province at the moment. Mr. H, the Kiddies Rugby tournament, the 29th of November. There's been quite a bit of funding coming in there now, in addition to the funds that we had last year, and I think we've got a slide to show some of those monies that have been coming in.
Yeah, but it's too slow.
It's too slow.
It's too slow, you know. I just said to the president today, to think that Western Province in this past year used up about 9 million rand that went to the clubs in some form or other, but not hard cash,
Yes.
and that they can't respond. You know, I think 9 or 10 clubs have responded
Well, do you want to just lean down there for me?
to give us some toys and to give us some funding.
Right.
And,
So, I know we did this last week, folks, but we're going to do it again this week. Because again, the guys from Tata.
And we're not playing with dolls. It's not like we're playing with
I'm
dolls.
sorry, but you know how much fun this was last week, and I know Mervyn doesn't get a lot of dolls at his place. But so let's have a look. This is from one of the guys at Tata Rotary. and Rotary that put this together. These toys are a little bit bigger this time. All right. Mariska, there's one for you. Mervyn. So we go back to this. I must say, this is absolutely great. Look, it's still got a label on it, so almost brand new. So folks, if you're out there and you want to support this cause, you can see these great toys that have been brought in with courtesy of the guys by Tata, and of course some other funds have been raised as well, and we will quickly go to that slide and take a look at some of the funds that has come in so far. The guys have been doing an absolutely incredible job. Temperance were one of the first teams on board there with 1,000 Rand. Primrose brought in 3,000 Rand. Solarians, 3,000 Rand. Milnerton, 3,050 Rand. Belhar brought in 4,000. Collegians, 2,000. Perseverance threw in a 200 Rand there. Kelsriver have committed. Hamiltons have committed. Cities have committed. And Roy Jacobs, in his personal capacity, has committed. So the challenge is out there to you guys to jump on board on the 29th of November. There's going to be so many disadvantaged kids there, previously disabled or previously disadvantaged, disabled kids there, kids from orphanages, Mr. H. I mean, we're just going to mention this in every show until then to make sure that we get that support, right?
Yeah, and there are a few other, like Discovery Health and other companies that are coming on board to assist. DHL will be involved. So there are others that are also helping us.
Right, and as I've said, folks, I challenge you out there. I have thrown in, personally, I will throw in 1,000 Rand out there, and I'm challenging you out there to equal or better my 1,000 Rand, all right, from your club, considering all the publicity we've tried to bring for you during this course of the season in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands, of course, knowing that on many a week, this is South Africa's biggest rugby show. So your exposure has gone national, all right? So give us a little bit of a helping hand there. I challenge you, my 1,000 Rand. In actual fact, my name can also go up on that list there, Mr. H. I don't know, why is my name not on the list?
We'll put it on there next week.
Okay, 1,000 Rand or better, folks. It doesn't matter what you give. You give 10 Rand, you give 50 Rand, and you can get hold of Mr. H, or you can jump on Facebook and we'll contact you. Facebook website is, of course, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. It's really easy to share. So all you need to do is see what you can scrape together and give us a 10 Rand, a 50 Rand, of somma enige ietsie. Even on the day, if you want to come to the party with some sort of food, bread, tin food, it doesn't matter. Any support will be absolutely great to hand out to those organizations. Mr. H, yes, of course, it was testing at the moment. They're still busy doing the testing at the at Sports Science. Going well?
Yeah, so far it's going okay. I think one or two clubs are struggling to get their players together, but yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great experience, and I would like to encourage everybody who's on that list to make sure that they are there and that they turn up.
Mervyn, how important is that from a physical point of view to get the support of organizations like Lotto, who came to the party and funded this sports science initiative where players themselves get to be tested, they get gym programs, they get nutrition programs, and incidentally, folks, if you've got those nutrition programs, don't forget to support your sponsors, Evox, and as a club rugby player, you're entitled to sponsorship rates. So all you need to do is SMS the word Evox to 32010 and put your contact details there and tell them that you want to get in touch with them, because nutrition is a key part of this. But Mervyn, to come back to you, how important is that type of rollout from a development point of view?
That is key, JP. This is exactly what I was referring to when I was saying we need to do certain things to narrow the gap between the professional and the amateur game. So in terms of your clubs, those clubs who are really competing in your Premier League and Super Leagues, I think they all now on that page where they realize that if they don't condition their players, they cannot compete. So absolutely key. I mean, I cannot encourage a club or clubs throughout the country more than to go that route.
Yes.
So that will also minimize the injury risk in terms of player injuries. That put a lot of emphasis on the clubs to ensure that they can field at least 3 teams every week.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you do get in the Western Province, Boland, Eastern Province, KZN, where club rugby is very, very tough.
Yes.
So to ensure that you have week after week your players fit and well to compete at that level, you will have to condition them.
How much of a difference is there in club rugby between, I don't think a lot of people out there actually know the difference between club rugby and Western Province. They all assume club rugby in Western Province are the same in all the other provinces. If you, I mean, you sit around at the desk and you've got 14 provinces in front of you, if you had to sort of look at something specific and you say, like, this is an obvious difference between one province and another, well, how would you distinguish between Western Province how would you distinguish between Western Province and, say, other clubs? What are the big differences?
Yeah, JP, I think there is a big difference. In certain parts of the country, clubs don't really know what is happening within the Western Cape, specifically Western Province. Yeah. At what level these guys are competing.
How many clubs have the other unions got?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Free State, they virtually got 20 odd clubs.
20 clubs?
If you look at Griffins, it's a bit more like in the 30s. You go to the Falcons, I mean, less than 20.
But it's a lot easier to administrate.
No.
Not?
It's not easy for them to administrate them. Yeah. But the problem there is they don't play at a high level. The quality of the club rugby there, you can't compare that with Western Province.
Okay.
It's only within the big franchises where you have, like in Northern, with the Bulls you have Tukkies. In Free State you have Shimlas and CUT. You know,
so if you look at the other clubs, you would probably, am I right in saying that there's maybe 1, 2, 3 clubs that can play at the same level?
Around the country, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
KZN's club rugby is also very strong.
So that's good to know. I mean, from Western Province point of view,
no.
We're doing good.
KZN's club rugby is strong. Very, very strong.
But Western Province, we're doing okay. Our Super League A, Super League B,
in terms of the numbers of the clubs and the various levels of competition, Western Province is by far in the country the leading province in terms of club rugby.
Well done, Mr. H.
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew you were going to take the credit for that. Mariska, last week we had Stefan de Toey, the conditioning coach of the Stormers and Western Province, on the show, and we were specifically talking about nutrition and training. And right now the clubs are obviously doing this testing at Sports Science. You've worked with the guys at Western Province quite a lot. And from a Western Province point of view and the Sevens point of view, the testing and the training, how important is that for a player?
It's very important. We've also had, when the season ended, SARU funded a program for players in the off-season for conditioning. Because I was one of the 7 players, I also went to these Monday and Wednesday training sessions where you'll have an hour fitness and an hour gym session. In the beginning I was like, oh, you're kidding me, they're trying to kill us. Yeah. And then second week round, it was actually nice going there, and when we played Sevens this year round, I could feel a difference because we put in that extra work. And I'm not a big fan of going to the gym and pumping some iron, but it actually did make a difference.
It did make a difference?
Yes.
Well, that's good news. We're going to take an ad break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to actually speak to Pedro April from Eersterrivier. The guys went out testing. We'll get Pedro on the line. We'll chat with him, and we'll ask him about what it meant to go and test at Sports Science. We'll also take look at some of the pictures of the guys while they were testing at Sports Science. So coming up next, Pedro April, the coach of Eersterrivier. We'll be back with you in a second. Of course, the guys went out to Sports Science. They did a little bit of testing. We took a look at some of the photographs of the guys in the testing session here. And so, of course, specifically Eersterrivier. And how do we know about that? Because they posted it on Facebook. Well done to the guys at Eersterrivier putting their pictures up there. And there you can see some of the guys on the stationary bicycles just doing some fitness testing. And it's, of course, at this time where they're not killing you just yet. They're just trying to get a benchmark of your fitness. All those guys at that time would have had on heart rate monitors. And there you would have seen the body fat testing that sports scientists, they're using a caliper to take body fat off the tricep. And another benchmark test, just getting sort of a strength test understanding of the basic bench press strength. And from that, they would then measure the essential strength at the time of the player. So that's critical to get that benchmark scenario. And well, there were more pictures there, but we can show you that when we get Pedro on the line. But of course, Mariska, when you went through your testing, you would have done that first, and then they would basically write it on a clipboard and see what level you're at, send you away to do some training, and then when you come back, hopefully you'd be a little bit stronger, a little bit faster.
Yeah, well, we're going for testing next month in December, so they'll send us off in the festive season with a program, and then when we get back next year, test us again and see if we actually did something or we just went out.
Do they nail you if you haven't improved?
Not really. It benefits yourself.
Yeah.
Because fitness in the beginning of the year is like hell. So if you actually did something in the holiday, the fitness in the beginning of the season is like a breeze.
I mean, Mervyn, that's something club individuals must take responsibility for as well off-season. I mean, even the national coach will tell you, guys, I can't watch you 24 hours a day.
Absolutely, JP. You know, there's also a difference between your off-season and pre-season training.
Yeah.
I think a lot of conditioning is basically happening through the off-season period. Then your pre-season is the focus shifts a little bit more onto fitness and going into the rugby skill, preparing for the competition. And then your in-season training, then you taper down. You don't stop with your conditioning program, you see, but you just taper it down to ensure that the players don't overtrain as well, and because that can also be a problem.
Yes.
So what Mariska is referring to, I mean, you have to pace yourself if you do your conditioning.
You got to get through the motions there.
Absolutely.
And you got to absolutely try and maintain.
If you just follow the program that sports science provide, then you can't go wrong.
Right, folks, we put that telephone number out a little bit early on if you wanted to call us in studio. We're going to put it up on the screen in a couple of seconds. And if you're out there and you want to give us a call, feel free to do so and pose your questions to the panel. Mariska, Mervyn, or Mr. H, or myself will give it our best shot. We don't know if we can answer all your questions, but we're definitely going to take those calls. Asseblief, as jou naam is Spanner van Mosselbaai, moet asseblief nie inskakel nie, want ons is vragies nie lus vir jou oproep waaroor jy nou klaar oor die blou bulle nie. En hoe vir jy vir my sê, eers vir die eerste 20 sekondes van die onderhoud, hoe fantasties ons vandag lyk nie. Ons wil eintlik net rugby gesels. But yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. Pedro is on the line. Hello, Pedro. Hello, meneer, hoe gaan met jou?
Yes, baby.
Pedro April. Pedro April. We're just busy getting Pedro on the line. Hello, Pedro, hoe gaan met jou? It looks like Pedro is unfortunately not able to make contact with us right now. We'll get to that in a second or so. Of course, folks, as you know, we're speaking about fitness and testing and training. Evox Advanced Nutrition is one of the official sports nutrition suppliers to Western Province Rugby. And you can still get yourself through that season with decent nutrition. This is what we've spoken about so many times. We'll get back to Pedro in a second as soon as we get him back on the line. But protein is the absolute key to maintenance, off-season, pre-season, during a season. So this is what you want to get yourself in the mix for. All you want to do is tell us who is the official sports nutrition supplier to DHL Western Province, the Stormers, and is the company that gives you, the club rugby player, special prices to get yourself through the season. Tell us who is the official sports nutrition supplier. It's as easy as looking at my shirt. And you'll know who it is. Last week's winner was Desmond James. Congratulations, Desmond. You win for yourself a bucket of 5-kilogram Mega Crow. Right, so very important, folks, that you get yourself through that season with as much protein as possible. So all you need to do is SMS the word EVOX to 32010 and your name. All right, and of course available at Dis-Chem, Pick n Pay, M-Chem, Clicks, and Sportsman's Warehouse. For those of you that are not registered club rugby players. Those of you that are registered club rugby players, 32010, SMS your name and the guys will get hold of you. Very important when you go shopping, folks, and especially if you're a club, that you use the products that are endorsed by the club or endorsed by the union. Very important, so that you know what you're getting And one of those important factors is the quality of the product, okay? Extremely important that when you take your nutrition supplement, or even if you're not using a nutrition supplement, but plain and simply going shopping at your local supermarket, take the product and look at the label. Very, very, very important. And every label by law in South Africa will tell you how much protein is in the label. Now, if I had to take, for example, this bucket, what I would do is I would turn around the bucket like anybody else in the shop. If you're buying a tin of tuna, buying a breakfast cereal, doesn't matter. Look at the label behind it, and it'll actually tell you the amount of grams per 100 grams of protein or carbohydrates that is in that product. So when you go do your shopping, whether it be for nutrition purposes or general shopping at home, very important that you look at those labels. And most important, folks, as we said last week, if you want success, try and get a support structure around you. Moms, dads, families, any successful sportsman that's ever existed has had people around them to support them. Okay, go shopping together. It's a great idea on a Sunday. We're just trying to get hold of Pedro April, the coach of Eerste Rivier. Have we got Pedro on the line? No, it doesn't seem we've got Pedro on the line. We'll get him on the line during the course of the show. Time for us to take an ad break, and we'll be back with you guys in a second or so. In the meantime, we will have Pedro April, the coach of Eerste Rivier, shortly with us. Just have an anniversary coming up shortly?
No, it's a church service to commemorate their 70th anniversary.
They do their 70th anniversary just the other day. We went down to film it.
Yeah, but now they're having a church service, like a Thanksgiving service.
A Thanksgiving service.
And they will have all the ex-members and all the families that were previously involved, and bringing them all in. Just another way of, sort of getting the whole community behind the club.
But I must say, that for me, and I know we spoke about that actually today again, is moving the legacy of club rugby, the history of club rugby, especially in the parts of club rugby that never had the chance to get exposure. How important is it that we remember the heroes of club rugby from before?
JP, we have to foster that, Club rugby is the backbone of South African rugby. Without that, we cannot survive. And people don't understand when we make these kind of statements.
Yeah.
The late Doc Craven has once said, and I read it in one of his many books, that the heart of South African Rugby Union lies within the universities and in clubs.
Yes.
And if we are not going to look after that and ensure that these kind of things are happening, and we support that, the union support those initiatives, then we do it at our own peril. The game will die, because we need those people to follow the Springboks, to follow the other national teams, to support that. And that is why we're saying that's the backbone.
Are we getting programs in place where the rest of the country can be exposed to the Springboks or Western Province? Because it seems that only a very small segment of the South African population actually has contact with the Springbok brand.
Yeah,
if we look at the World Cup, okay, there were some games there that we could see, but in general, people can't see Springbok rugby.
You see, the problem there is absolutely the broadcaster. So if we can go the other route, then we obviously we will get to more.
We'll spread the love.
We'll get to more people.
We have less All Black supporters in this country.
Well, that's a topic that I want to talk about.
No. We've got a system. We've got a system. Mariska, talking about the legacy of players and the history of players, do you guys get together? What about the girls who played before your time? Do you ever see them?
Well,
not really.
We're not been around that long, but players that I played with when I started playing when I was 16.
Yeah. Was it about 2 years ago?
we had club champs the other day, and we were short players, and we phoned them up, and they pitched up, and it was like.
But is that not something that you would like, though? Surely that's something that you would like to see, is that when you finish playing rugby, when you retire one day, which I'm sure is still going to be a long, long time away, that you would like to be able to go to events and functions where the young girls that are coming through the ranks are being sort of mentored by people like you, where people like yourself have got opportunities to, say, speak at a breakfast seminar where you can talk about your time, which inspires the youngsters. That's something that would surely be something nice for you.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. H, what do we have in terms of the legends of Western Province Rugby?
I just want to say now, Nazim Kareel, the Secretary of Primrose,
Yes.
a very astute administrator.
I see he's putting out that newsletter, Prim News, now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he also wants to do the history of all the clubs. He's asked all the clubs to just write, like 500 words about the history, concise, so that we have it on record.
Yeah.
And he would like to put it in a little booklet so that whoever comes to Western Province or whoever can read about the history of all those 90 clubs. And I think that he should be supported in what he's trying to do.
This is what we've been trying to do, is build this archive, like an online museum I mean, we had such a great season, and the first few shows we did was those old black and white photographs showing the history of the clubs and all those heroes. Of course, none quite, and I'm just going to stretch down here, not these kind of black and white photographs, folks. I'm talking about photographs where back in the day Mr. H just had a huge hair, like big hair, all right? All the photographs we had on the show was big hair. Now there's more hair, less hair, and Mr. H is still busy with Movember. He's doing his Movember. Started it in January, which is, of course, a very good cause for, but they were not these kind of black and white. Let's see if we got Pedro April on the line. Hello, Pedro. Is jy met my, meneer?
Hi, Joyce, I'm here.
We've got a slight delay there speaking to Pedro, but we've got Pedro on the line. Can't seem to get him. No, it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to speak to Pedro tonight. It's time for us to quickly look at some of those testing fixtures. There are clubs still that will have opportunity to get themselves ready for testing at the Sports Science Institute. Let's take a look at some of those dates where the guys will have an opportunity to go for testing at Sports Science. Can't really see that, it's very small, so we'll take a look there. Of course, it's the amateur team on the 17th of October with Jerome Parvater being the contact there. On the 18th, these are actually dates that have gone past now. Mr. H, you're really going to have to speak to your chap Faisal Felton about the manner in which he sends us these documents, because a lot of this year is the history of testing, so it's a good thing it's in black and white. As opposed to those that are current. So the next teams that are being tested is coming up. Tygerberg, Hamlets, Langa and Rangers. Those are the teams that are still due for testing. So guys, make sure that you get your clubs out to the Sports Science Institute and get that testing done. One of the other sponsors that kindly helped us through the show, of course, it was impossible to do the show and get things started without the sponsors that supported us so kindly during the season, Mesa being one of them. Was absolutely amazing to have Mesa on from the beginning, actually supporting us with the various technology we have at Cape Town TV. But Colour Tone, the White Line Fever guys, of course, kindly supported us through every single episode. Colour Tone Paints, the White Line Sports Line Field Marker of Choice. Of course, you get a chance to win yourself a hamper every week. All you need to do is SMS Colour Tone to 32010. Win a Colour Tone Sports Line Marker hamper, courtesy of Colour Tone Paints. All you need to do is SMS that word Colour Tone to 32010. Last week's winner, SK Warmers, the winner of Colour Tone Paints. Congratulations, guys. You win for yourself a hamper, courtesy of Colour Tone Paints. That is White Line Fever. All you need to do is visit your nearest dealer to get yourself those White Line environmentally friendly paint hamper markers. The White Line Sports Line Field Marker of Choice, Colour Tone Paints. Amazing support there from many of the sponsors that are out there. Again, folks, if you want to get yourself the Western Province Club Rugby newsletter, absolutely free of charge. We're trying to make sure that as many people of you out there as possible get the news from Western Province Club Rugby. All you need to do is SMS your email address starting off with the word rugby to 32010. There you have it on your screen right now. Start off with the word rugby and then add your email address in and send that to 32010. Rugby and your email address, and we'll add you to the mailing list for that free Western Province Club Rugby newsletter. Critical that you get that newsletter. It keeps you in touch and it keeps you in the mix of what exactly is happening at Western Province Rugby. Also keeps you in the mix of all those benefits. Big benefits packages rolling out shortly for the clubs. Mr. H, one of the things that is happening for the clubs and is happening at the social media side of things, and Mervyn, I don't know, I'm hoping that maybe what we're doing at Western Province can be a bit of a model for some of the other clubs out there. Yeah. But every club now has the opportunity, and they'll be shown at the social media and business seminars, their very own website. It's a small website, but they can upload themselves.
Yeah, that is something that is sadly lacking. And, you know, one would have thought that it would have been there already.
Yeah.
But now we are going to show them how to do it. And I think it will be a great advantage for club rugby.
Well, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about sharing the content, sharing the information, telling people, and how fantastic it must be in terms of the registration process to encourage more players to play when you see the name of your hero in the community who's playing rugby and you see their photograph up there. Mariska, when you started playing rugby, was there any sort of a superstar that you looked up and said, I want to be like this person, or this is what's encouraging me to play rugby?
There was actually one of the players that played with me, Nadine Barnard, and she was a Springbok from the beginning, and she was just like a machine on the field. And
yeah.
I said, I want to be like that one day when I play up there. I want to be, you know, just running over people, and she was a real inspiration for me.
Just running over people. Mervyn, this is the kind of attitude you want, though.
That's a statement.
Yeah. That's a statement, yeah. How important are those heroes in terms of in the community to encourage the kids to join up and register?
One will encourage clubs to make use of the yesterday's heroes, because that's a promotional tool, and we tend to underestimate the power of that, because that will attract people, as Mariska now said.
Are we not also in a situation that, the reality in South Africa is that we have, in many cases, a slight breakdown in the family connection, and quite often the fathers are not necessarily the role models in the house, and quite often somebody else in the community is the role model.
That's for sure, and that's where women rugby can play a massive role, because the men will be there where the women are.
Yes.
I mean, that's natural.
I mean, I want to be like Mariska and just run over you.
So if clubs want to recruit more young boys,
yeah,
let's get the ladies involved as well. 100%. Whether it's social, they just play tag or touch or whatever.
Yes, play
just
rugby.
To get the family together.
Which is what it's all about. Yeah.
It's all about community rugby.
Mervyn, I've got to tell you, if you have half a chance, you've got to get out to Elsie Safir, okay? Because I need someone from a senior level to actually go down there and see if Anselin Uproll and Michael Adonis, if they actually have a scarp out there, because they promised me a scarp. Obviously, I wasn't high power enough, and there was no scarp down here. They photoshopped a picture, they sent it in, they said, come and look, there's a scarp, maar daar was niks scarping. Okay, so, but every club we went to this year, Mr. H, what amazing activity around the field.
Yeah, and I hope that next year, you know, it will improve dramatically. Now that we've asked clubs to create events, every match must be an event that they create. And especially if the TV comes there and other activities that is going to happen, you know, they must work at it and make sure that the whole community must be there on a Saturday.
One of the things, of course, that in that social media process and the offering to sponsors is following the model of some of the clubs was pre-match, sending out little flyers in the community and encouraging people to come, publicizing some information in that little booklet about what's going to happen on the day, maybe publishing the names of the players, maybe some of their record or history, who scored the most tries. All of that makes for great added value for a spectator who comes to the game.
Yeah, and maybe, I'm just thinking, maybe we should have, you know, an awards evening from a social media perspective.
Yes, yes. Well, yes, of course, currently,
talking
about, yes, it is currently the South African Blog Awards, but yes, perhaps there should be an awards evening for these guys that are attending the business and sponsorship ceremonies, seminars.
Yeah.
Hey, more work. Nog werk voor ons, meneer. We're going to have to start wrapping it up. There is a cultural, Western Province Arts and Culture Awards coming up soon.
Yeah, Department of Sport. They have their annual award ceremony on Friday the 18th.
Right.
The rugby is nominated a few people and a few categories. We'll see what comes out.
Western Province has done quite well at the national awards this year. Skalkberger,
Yeah.
there's a name. Sia Kolisi, there's a name. We had some amazing star performers coming out this year. Mervyn, are you happy with the young talent coming through the ranks?
Yeah, we can't complain about that. But going back to Western Province, it's it's in individuals that performs well at provincial and national and international stage. However, they still need to gather the silverware.
They still have to get the silverware. You have to, of course, remind us about that.
Just to say that our men's team won the plate final.
Yes.
The men's team won the plate final,
Yeah.
so they've got a plate.
They got a plate.
A silver plate. Mariska, finally, we're going to be able to advertise this on the Club Rugby website, www.wpclubrugby.co.za. People can buy this.
Yes.
What's the price? How much does it cost?
It's 150 rand.
150 Rand, folks. It's well worth it. Mervyn, thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see a lot more involvement from you and get you on the show more often and get feedback from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, JB.
Been fantastic. Mr. H, we'll see you again next week. And folks, we want those toys and any donations that you can have. Mr. H?
Again next week.
You will be here again next week. Yeah, you will earn your note money. From us and the guys and the girls here at Cape Rugby TV, we'll see you again next week live. And next week we will have Pedro Aprol on the phone. Have a fantastic rugby week. Catch you then. Don't forget to go for your testing. See you then. Bye-bye.